3, 2, 1, action.
The future is now. The future is now. The future is now.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm the host of Adulting is the Ghetto, and I'm back with you with another episode with a special guest, my good friend,
Temidayo.
Amazing. So we hope you enjoy this episode, and let's get straight into it. Temidayo, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Who are you?
Okay, so my name is Temidayo Seriki. I am the founder of Manhood Initiative, and what we do is we challenge and change value systems among young men. So we use various contents, curriculums, engagement processes, etc. to engage young men with the aim of, teaching value systems that would better society. That's pretty much what Manhood is about. Other than that, I don't know, I'm a pretty simple guy. What can I say? I work, I sleep, I play. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
Amazing, thank you. And Temidayo is one of my favorite people. He's my cousin, and it's like, oh my gosh, amazing. It's really cool when the people that you like, not even just look up to, but you look up to, you like, you enjoy what they do, are actually related to you as well. So it makes sense, doesn't it?
I can say the same.
Oh, thanks. So the reason I got Temidayo here today is to speak about, like what he said, Man Up Initiative, but also men's mental health, because it needs to be spoken about, and what a better person to speak about it. But before we get into the heavy stuff, let's have an icebreaker.
Okay.
Let's get to know you a little bit more. Are you competitive?
Not really. I try. Actually, I don't know. I would say I'm a good mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so we're gonna place categories. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, so it's basically going to be, I'm gonna give you a letter.
Okay.
And then there are going to be different categories, and you have to say what starts with that letter. So for example, a shoe brand beginning with B or something like that.
Okay.
But it will make more sense as you
As
go
we
along.
go
Yeah.
along.
Okay, so your letter is H.
Ugh, okay.
And your first category, and you need to be quick about it as well.
Okay.
So your first category is household chores beginning with H.
Hoovering.
Yes, good.
I do
A
that.
boy's name, beginning with H.
Harry.
Good. A girl's name beginning with H.
Henrietta.
Good. Things at a football game begin with H.
Hoses.
Okay, yeah.
Socks.
Yeah. And type of drinks begin with H. What's the type of drink?
You lost me here.
Oh, I don't know actually. Is there a type of drink?
Type of drink.
Okay, what about fruit? That's the last one.
Ah.
But even then, you know, there's some words that if you were to ask about it, like you wouldn't actually know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, but I think that you did quite well. That was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 3 out of 6. That's not bad.
Well, could be better.
Could be worse. Could be worse. Okay, amazing. So I think the ice has been broken a little bit more. But describe your adulting journey in one word, and then expand why that word.
Wow. My adulting journey in one word. Tough. I'll probably say faith.
Okay.
Yeah, faith. I mean, a lot of my adult life, God has been at the center of a lot of my adult life, and I wouldn't be where I am today if not for just complete reliance and faith, in Him, a faith that He'll come through, because adulting is the ghetto.
It's the ghetto. Like, I didn't lie.
So, a lot of the times, like, things are really difficult, especially if you live in Nigeria like me. You know that, I guess, things are just not as straightforward as they could be. And really and truly, you have to have faith in God, to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So, I'll probably say faith. Another thing I'll probably say is community.
Okay.
Yeah, like the people around me have been like really integral to my growth, my development, and even just my way of thinking and being and living. So yeah, community is another one.
I like that, faith and community. I said 1, but 2 is
Yeah.
good anyways. No, that's really good. And then I guess with community, that may lead well into Man Up initiative and the reason behind it. So why do you think you started in the first place? How did you start it, and how do you think it's helped you as a man?
Oh wow, good question. Okay, so why I started it was because, you know, I moved back. So when I moved back to Nigeria, this was in 2017, I moved back pretty empty. I had nothing in my hands, like in terms of, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. All the plans that I had essentially died and just disappeared within the blink of an eye. So I was literally stranded and on my own. And then I moved back to live with my family. And there was just no sense of direction for me, you know. So the idea for Man Up, or the initial seed for Man Up, actually came up in church. So I used to go to the church before for elevation. And I remember there was a day they were announcing some women's thing that they were doing. Like, it was like a women's day thing, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is literally everything I need in one place. And obviously I couldn't go because I was a guy, you know. So that kind of just got me thinking, like, okay, what can I find for guys? Where can I go? What communities can I get myself involved with that would help me? That was pretty much how that started, and then well, that was pretty much why that started. And then how it started was literally community, people around me. You know, a lot of my friends just were like, yeah, do it. And I was like, really? I was just saying, oh, you know, I was just complaining like, oh, I don't have a community for guys. And everybody was like, oh yeah, do something.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So that's pretty much how it started. And how it's helped me as a man, it's really helped me. As a person, actually, it's really helped me. Obviously, like, on one hand, you know, being the founder of Man Up, I have to hold myself to a higher standard. I can't do certain things, or it's almost as if I can't be seen doing certain things because then my words would have no weight.
Yeah.
You know, so if, for example, I talk to you about, let's say, cheating, for example, and I say, okay, cheating is wrong, don't cheat, blah, blah, blah. That's not how we do our things, but you get what I mean. And then you catch me cheating, I can no longer talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that's not to say there's no room for grace or there's no room for growth, but it just allows me to hold myself to a higher standard, which I think has helped me grow. So I feel like I have to carry myself differently. I feel like I have to be different, even to what I was before. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I feel like innately I'm the same person, like, fundamentally, but it's just some other things that I have to be very intentional about, you know. So I would say that it's taught me how to be intentional about something.
Is that, like, difficult? Does that put a lot of pressure on you, knowing that you had to be, like, held to a higher standard and stuff?
I mean, it used to be. It's not easy now. It's still very difficult now. But I used to be under a lot of pressure. I no longer feel the pressure, and that's because, you know, God helped me, and I also had to walk through some things and some processes. But I'm sure you can imagine that I was really hard on myself at first. You know, like, I always would have moments where, let's say, something goes wrong or doesn't go my way, or let's say I do something that I feel is not that great. I would literally kill myself for it. Like, I would hold myself over in my room. I won't talk to anyone for like 2 weeks. 2
weeks?
Trust me. There was one particular time that I literally was held up in my room for ages. My parents were so worried. Anyway. But now, like, I've been taught to extend grace towards myself. So I'm not perfect, but nobody's perfect. And that's like one of the core things that we speak about at Man Up. Like, we're all in it together, essentially. Like, we're all growing together. Like, nobody has the blueprint for what an ideal man should be.
Yeah. We
just have to be the best we can. That's really what we're doing.
So good. No, that's true. And I think that's even, like, when thinking about why I started Adults is the Ghetto, it's like there's no blueprint of life. Not even life after uni, because not everyone goes to uni, but after a certain age, like after 21, you're at different stages. Some people are literally getting married, or some people are like their second kid or something, and you're just like, maybe I didn't even want to go to uni, so you decided to go at 21 or later than everyone. So at that point, everybody's life trajectory is so different that you can't even compare, you can't even look to somebody else. And sometimes I feel for myself anyways, people look at me as if I've been on earth before. Like you kind of, oh, you know what you're doing, what do you feel about this? It's like, guys, we're all figuring it out together, but let's actually find people who may be a little bit further, who've done something different, and let's hear why they did it, what they've learned from it, and how you might be able to get, even if it's just one gem from it as well. So no, I definitely get that. It's all about community. It actually just goes back to community, doesn't it? So my next question is, what is like you kind of spoke about it in terms of when you hold yourself to higher standards and stuff, but it could be a different one. What do you think is like a pressure or a challenge that men face that like women may not understand, or you wish other people just understood or got, and maybe that will help them understand men or you better? Yeah.
This is a great question.
Thank you.
There's not one thing. There's a bunch of things. And I was thinking about this morning. I was watching a video, and it was of, I can't remember his name right now, but he was essentially saying how there's a flawed view of men in general, like from society, and I think he's so correct. So for me, I'll probably say that I wish, if I was to say I wish women could understand one thing about men, it's probably the pressure that men face to be the provider.
Okay.
It is I feel like it's one of the deep things that lies at the roots of a lot of the issues that men face, because you can't relate as much as you might try to. It's difficult for you to relate, but only another guy can relate. When, like, I know how it is when I'm being told how I have to do certain things, and you have to be this, you have to be that, and that's why men commit more crimes. That's why men are into fraud more. That's why, do you get what I mean? That's why some of these numbers are
proportionally higher for men.
Thank you. You know, so it's something that I think if a lot of people understood how deep, especially again in a country like Nigeria where we are so culture centric, you know, we feel like certain things just have to be there are men in this society that don't believe that their wives should work, for one, but they don't understand the pressure that it's putting on them. I always used to say that let me even tell you a funny story. I always used to say that I love the idea of women working. I wish my wife had more money than me. I always used to say that. Growing up, both my parents were both, by the grace of God, both CEOs, both working well. My dad had a massive company, my mom had a massive company. So I never had any idea of women in the kitchen. Literally, throughout all my life, I just saw mom and dad are going to work, mom and dad are coming back. So for me, it was never really a thing of what a man or a woman should or shouldn't do. But there was a time when, so I've been working for like 4 or 5 years now. My girlfriend, I think she got her NYC job, and maybe this is me 3 years into working or something, but she got a great job. Her NYC salary was like just a little bit less than mine. And I was like, okay, I didn't think too much of it. And then all of a sudden, like, she started something that brought in even more money. And then she was earning more than me for that period. And I remember how difficult it was for me to navigate that, even after years of saying, whatever. But I had to literally sit myself down and say, okay, there's nothing wrong with this. You just have to focus. You just have to kind of, let it motivate me. Let me even try and do more. Do you get what I mean?
Did it feel like a bit of, not a competition, but did it feel like you had to earn more?
Yes, it felt like I was doing something wrong by her earning more than me.
Okay.
That's how it felt.
Okay.
But then I had to talk myself out of that because it's just life. Like, I was happy for her, but then I was also like, do you get what I mean? So it was just one of those things that I really had to navigate, and I had to be very vulnerable about it and say, look, this is how I'm feeling. It has nothing to do with you. It's all about me. And then obviously, like, once I spoke about it, honestly, it felt like once I spoke about it, I got over it, like, almost instantly. So now, like, I'm pretty much okay. She can do whatever she wants. But again, that's just something that we don't really notice the little effects that it has on us as guys.
And I feel like even the two things, but the first thing that came to my mind was speaking about that, like I don't know if it's true, but I sometimes feel as if some men are jealous of some women because of that, in terms of like, they earn more, not even with just earning, but with like the freedom to not having to be the provider. That was the first thing,
Like as a guy, do you want to say the second one?
No.
I was going to say, like, as a guy, like, we're brought up to have some level of dominance or authorities in some aspect of our home, and that usually revolves around finances. So the moment your wife is earning more than you, you feel like you have lost a big part of your identity.
Like you as a man.
Whereas that has nothing to do with your identity. You find that guys would then overcompensate in other things, like maybe sex, for example. Maybe they'll start being a bit more violent or domineering or something, or whatever. Or maybe like when it comes to food, maybe you can say something like, and she works, but she must always cook my food or something like that. You get what I mean? That's just how a lot of people have found react to these things. But I guess we just don't realize that if it's something that we all just understood and talked about as a community, like
it's true.
The problem will be half solved.
Because even with like providing, this was the second thing with providing, many only consider provided in the financial element, because a lot of people, I think maybe on like, let me speak for myself anyways, but as a woman, to me, it's like, what I would want you to provide is the emotional support as well, not just finances, because when it comes, when it goes, I like good things, cool, but I can also make my money. And it's like, okay, if it's a case that like a girlfriend, if I was earning more than the person I'm with, like, is it not going to be like, oh, you no longer have relevant? No, of course you do, but it's because you only see providing in one element, you only see it as financial provision. I must pay all the bills, I must pay for all the dates, all of that. And it's just like, no, but are you actually there emotionally? Do you have the emotional intelligence? Are you just like, can I come home to you and rest type of thing is the best way to describe it. What people don't see that they also need to work on that side when it comes to providing, if it's a case. And I guess that's another question. Like, do you think that idea of men being providers needs to be challenged, or do you think it still has some importance or reason?
I think the language needs to be challenged. Okay. I think we need to focus on leadership, not provision.
Yes.
I feel like as a man, you should be a leader in your home, regardless of whatever it is that you're doing. And that is, obviously my understanding of that is I'm led by God, so I should lead my home in the way that God is leading me. So I have to be a good servant first. Do you get what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like regardless of anything, my wife should be able to trust my leadership, and that is what should be preached, I believe, in homes. And that is what provision, I believe, should be centered around, as opposed to material things. Yeah. Because again, here, like, I can't really speak for much anywhere else really, but for here, a lot of the time it's material things. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, where do you live, which car,
what school, your kids,
all of that stuff, and all those things are fleeting. But if we focus on leadership, right, number one, that will build more of a relationship between the man and the woman, because this focus has gone away from external things, and it's now about how we relating with one another. Which you get, and then that way we can take that forward and develop it into other things. You get what I mean? But the center is different. So I feel like if I was to say something should change, that would definitely be what it would be like. And again, that is really what we try and talk about the most of man of leadership. That is the core of everything. Like, we feel like all men are called to be leaders, and that is leadership in every sphere. So it's not just at work. So it's like in your home, in your life, however.
And then I guess like just the last bit in terms of this question with like leadership, how, because I also believe, and I know you do as well, like women as leaders as well, but how does that relate in terms of men's leadership, like women's leadership, and the whole idea of the language changing of provision, and how do you think it will make one, like, both genders relate to each other better and stuff?
I don't think there's a perfect answer for this. I also don't think there's a perfect scenario for this, because I feel like it's largely based on your beliefs. And my belief is that God speaks to them. I mean, with relations to a home now, actually, specifically, God speaks to a man, and the man speaks to the rest of his family and his wife especially. And he essentially leads his family down the path that God has led him down for them. But again, that's not to say that God can't speak to your wife. But I just feel like I said, there's no perfect answer. I feel like it's one of those things whereby if you and your wife can understand, then you can understand the idea that submission is submission to leadership and not submission to me as a person. Then you can then move forward. So I can't really say this is the answer to that question, but I just feel like there needs to be understanding, and there needs to be like-mindedness when it comes to this. So if, for example, and again, I'm solely speaking to a home here now, like in a marriage, I feel like outside of that, I feel like it's pretty flexible, to be very honest. Like, I feel like you, for example, you're not married, I'm not married yet. I feel like God can speak to you just as much as he can speak to me. But the moment I get married and go into a home, I have a responsibility as the head of the home to be led by God. You get what I mean? But outside of that, I feel like It's pretty much like level playing ground. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, no, you are. I haven't thought of it like that before.
Yeah, that's
I don't
just
know if I
kind of
agree, but I don't know if I disagree. So yeah, no, it's just okay, interesting.
Yeah, but again, like I said, it's like all of what I'm saying is not to say that women can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm surrounded by like yourself, for example, my mom, my sisters, my girlfriend. I'm surrounded by strong women like that are leaders in their own rights. Do you get what I mean? And I feel like one of the issues is leadership is always just tied a lot to what you do, like your job or how you're impacting. Sometimes it's not just that. Sometimes it can just be making a simple decision, like where should we go on holiday this December, kind of thing. Like it doesn't matter who's paying for the holiday, where should we go on holiday, kind of thing. You know, so I feel like if as a society we can turn our eyes away from I don't want to say actions because actions are important, but like work.
Yeah.
If we can turn our eyes away from work, career, all these other things, and focus on the minute things, you would actually see what I feel was the intention for some of these language that we read in the Bible and some of the way that we see things. I just feel like there's too much of a focus on what people do, like in terms of work. Like it's not really about all that.
No, you're right. I think it's like more time, cool, when you strip away the titles or whatever, you're still not able to make good decisions.
Exactly.
Like you're still not able to lead your own self well to like in a way that somebody will be okay to follow you. So no, I actually agree.
You hit the nail on the head. Thank you.
So how do you practically deal with the pressures of life that comes like to men? Like if another to you, and then like if you're to give, because that's the next question, like realistic mental health tips as well, and like how, because I feel like you said, I'm not going to understand the pressures that like you as a man face and you just as a human being face. So firstly, how do you deal with it? Is it different? Well, you've only been a man, so you don't know if it's any different. Like, do you think being a man adds to that pressure and that the way you deal with it also is in that sense? Do you understand my question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I would start by saying that I think everybody has different pressures. Like everybody has different things that they're going through. Men have added pressures of their own, but I also feel like women have added pressures of their own, and both are true. So I would say that like as a man, me personally, one of the things that just helps me deal with a lot of things is I've been able to remove, or I've been able to, how can I put this in a cohesive way? I've been able to tie my identity to something else. Do you get what I mean? My identity is not rooted in what I do.
Okay.
My identity is not rooted in my job. My identity is not rooted in how much money I'm making. It's not rooted in what car I drive. It's not rooted in a lot of those things. My identity is purely rooted in who I am and who I feel I'm called to be. So for the most part, I try my best to always go back to that whenever I face pressure or whenever I face tension or anything like that. And I feel like that has really helped. God has also really helped. So another thing is, not another thing, but yeah, God has really helped. But then when I'm giving advice, or if I'm giving like a tip, because you ask for tips, right? So if I'm giving tips, I'll probably say that as a man, the best thing you can do for yourself is be intentional. Be very intentional about making sure that you are not giving in to the pressure that society is giving you, essentially. Because it's very easy to, again, especially if you're from an African background, it's very, very easy to, everywhere you go, people, even now, like, so I feel like I'm in a season of marriage now. So that's the next stage for me, by the grace of God. But even with relations to that, I've had to fight a lot because everywhere I go, the question is, oh, are you ready to buy a ring? Oh, where are you going to live?
They're not giving any money or towards it, but they're already good.
And sometimes it's like, again, that's why I said faith, because a lot of the times I just hold on to God for a lot of things, and I believe things just always work out. But it doesn't mean it's easy. Do you get what I mean? So God, that's why I said God is really important, because God has really, really helped me. So yeah, I feel like for me, so whenever I face those types of pressures, I just always have to make sure that I'm not holding on to that for too long. Okay, cool, yeah, okay, thank you, okay, bye. and then I focus on my own thing.
Yeah.
I also try not to get into generalization. I don't like when people generalize. I don't like when people say, oh man, I don't like that, because I feel like it subconsciously makes me into that thing. It's weird, like I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like if you say something about me too much, I would eventually become that thing, even though I'm not like that.
Yeah.
So I don't like generalization.
So you're just gonna believe that that's the case,
Exactly.
even if it isn't.
Exactly. So I always fight those as well. I hope these tips are actually useful, but these are just some of the things I do that I feel have helped me over the years. So yeah, I mean, if we're looking at more like traditional tips as well, I would also say like the generic things like eating well, working out, being with friends, those things really, really help. And for men, the biggest issue that we have in terms from a mental health perspective is vulnerability. As guys, but again, this is all because of how we're brought up. I can talk for another hour on this, so let me just not get to that. But this is all just based on how we are brought up. As guys, we're really just brought up to internalize a lot of things and just deal with things on our own. Why? Because we have to be those strong providers.
Yeah.
It all really just goes back to that. But I found that the more you talk about the problem, the easier it is to deal with. And especially if you talk about it with people you trust and people who love you and you love as well. So that's, again, community. It's so important. So as guys, we should surround ourselves with people who we're very comfortable speaking with. And I also know that a lot of guys feel more comfortable talking to women about their issues than guys. I'm okay with that, right? I have no problem with that because I understand. But then I would also say, talk to your guys as well, because they might be going through something similar and just might not know how to talk about it. I feel like I love this now because it's changing. I see that it's changing. But I remember when there was a time that guys would just hang out and all we're talking about is football, we're playing FIFA, we're talking about girls, we're talking about work. External things, nothing that really has to do with me and what I'm going through in my life. But now I found that a lot of guys are more comfortable saying I love you to your friend, for example. And that is what we really need. And it has nothing to do with feminine traits or masculine traits. It's just about being a human being and being a person and having community as a person. Because I feel like as guys, we see women do it, and the reason we're comfortable with women, talking to women, is because they're women are better at processing internally, and then maybe like expressing advice or expressing whatever the expression is. But as guys, we're just learning that now, which is great, and I'm very happy about that. So yeah, I feel like we need to do more of that, and it could just literally be "and I love you" to your bro on the phone or something, not just always. My girlfriend said that guys were so uncomfortable saying "I love you" that they turned it into "love, bro."
Yeah. There's no, like, you can actually say "I love you" and you're right. That's your challenge. If you're a guy watching this, you need to tell 3, because I don't have any male friends here, but you need to tell 3 of your male friends you love them when you get off the phone, like, or just call them and say "I love you, bro. Thank you for being you."
That's a good challenge. We should do that challenge. Yeah. So that's all of my advice probably wrapped into one long. I hope that helps.
That's been really good, and I think just hearing from like your perspective and just like seeing how you process things and how you're able to articulate it, I'm sure, and I pray it does, will help other people as well, because you're right, it's true. Like, it makes me sad to see men not having the spaces I find with so many of my female friends. Like, I'm literally like, that's why to me, I don't mind being that person, but at the same time, I've stopped, because sometimes I feel as if men don't know how to like reciprocate it. So like, if I was to need you, not you, but like someone, they might not be able to give me that, but they will be so ready to
take
when they need it. And I'm just like, I'm still a human being as well. So it's finding the right balance as well. But I think if, like you said, if they're doing it more with their male friends and it's becoming more of like the norm, it will not be burdensome on like the other, like the women they have in their lives, where that's like their only role, to be like the unpaid therapist, basically.
I hear that. But I feel like guys just talk about your issues, man. Trust me. Like, I feel like we're all going through similar things. That's just what guys don't really understand. Like, we've all been brought up in similar ways, that a lot of our problems are actually similar. So we can help each other more than you know. So yeah, talk good shit. That's it.
Amazing. And that is all our questions. Do you have any final words? I think that was kind of your
Yeah.
final words. But amazing. Thank you all for watching this episode of Adulting's the Ghetto. You've been
Temidayo.
And you know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you, or I will see you on the next one. Bye.